Greetings, my saplings. Today we are going to be discussing the Jordan 3 KATRINAs. And yes, I completely understand. We got so much heat coming out this coming week or in the coming few weeks. We have those Jordan 4 Raptors. We have the Jordan 1 Satins. We have those off-white Chuck Taylors. Guys, there is so much heat coming out. But don't worry, we're going to get to all that. So if you want to see all those videos, make sure you subscribe and turn on post notifications just so you don't miss out on any updates. But you also might be wondering, Keith, why in the world are you making this How to Cop guide so early for the Jordan 3 KATRINAs? I thought the date was May 12th. Well, don't worry, I'm going to explain why I'm making it early and you'll understand soon enough. But essentially in today's video, we will be discussing some release info for the shoes, how to cop them, and of course, like always, some resale predictions for these Jordan 3 KATRINAs for those of you who may be interested in making a couple of bucks. Okay, so to kick it off with some release info, the Jordan 3 KATRINAs initially made their release, or not necessarily a release, but they were originally auctioned off in 2006 to raise funds for some Katrina victims. And this is definitely a factor that would make this shoe meaningful to a ton of people, and in fact, although this shoe looks really nice, this is the main reason that I want to buy the shoe, just because sentimentally it does mean a lot to me. But more importantly, now that we're in 2018, we are seeing a more wide release to the public. Now this release was supposed to take place on May 12th, and don't get me wrong, the US release is still taking place on May 12th. However, this is only for people within the United States. I understand some of you guys are outside of the US and you want to cop the shoe too. For you guys, you're going to be able to cop this shoe on May 5th. Now for all of us in the United States, you are also able to cop the shoe on May 5th because all the stores that I'm going to be mentioning for May 5th will be shipping worldwide. Now the retail on these sneakers will be $190. Now obviously this will fluctuate when it comes to the overseas stores. For instance, shipping might be a little more pricey. Some banks might charge a small fee like $7 or so for the transfer. But as we talk about what resale might be looking like, it's up to you if you're willing to go for them, pay a little extra for the overseas shipping. Looking at some of the details on the shoe, there is no Nike Air, unfortunately, but of course, this makes sense because this wasn't an OG colorway. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with the Jumpman. It's just, it's not as nice as the Nike Air. But basically, these look almost identical to the Fire Red 3s. There's a couple of differences. For instance, the red detailing on these comes on the midsole heel, behind the tongue, the Jumpman, the sole, and the lacelets. And if you ask me, this shoe just looks incredible. But with the release info out of the way, why don't we jump into how to cop them? Let's talk about how you guys could get your hands on a pair of these Jordan 3 KATRINAs. To kick it off, let's start off, of course, with the May 5th releases. So at 3 a.m. Eastern Time, we will encounter a couple of stores that are releasing this shoe with, like I said, worldwide shipping. The 4 stores that are going to be getting them as of now, and I will keep you guys updated via my Twitter if I get any more updates. Also, make sure your notifications are on in case I make some updates within a video or so. But essentially, the stores will be 43 and Hub, A Few Store, Asphalt Gold, and BSTN. Now, all 4 of these stores will be first come, first serve, so unfortunately, no, we can't use the multiple people jig, but just some quick tips that I'm sure a lot of you guys who've been subscribed, you guys should already know this. You want to use Command R to refresh on Mac, or F5 to refresh on Windows. The reason we do this is simply so we don't have to waste our time dragging our mouse up to the top in the little refresh button, but instead we could press the button and keep our mouse hovering over the size selection, because when you're competing with bots, honestly guys, every second does count. Speaking of every second counting, you want to make sure that you have autofill already set up. No, you don't need an extension. All you got to do is use Google Chrome and set it up in the settings. My final tip would be to pay with credit card or debit card in comparison to using PayPal, just because these sites do tend to crash a lot. And if it takes you to the PayPal login screen, that is all the time where you run into the site crashing, and it's really unfortunate because you've made it that far only to realize that you've taken an L. Now, if you were wondering which site was my favorite site, I'm gonna have to say my favorite site is A Few Store. Now, no, I don't know if there's more stock on A Few Store. I don't exactly know this. However, what I do know is that this is where I've taken W's in the past in comparison to, say, 43 and Hub, where the site always just locks me out and it's really annoying, or even BSTN, where the site just crashes. I always always happen to have luck on a few stores, so that is my personal favorite, but of course, it's up to you guys what site you want to try. Also, whenever you're adding to cart and it's loading, you want to be trying on all 3 of the other sites. And of course, also on May 5th at 3 a.m. Eastern Time, this is only for those of you in Europe, we have the Nike Sneakers EU drop. Now, this will be a first come, first serve on the app, at least I'm assuming so, but if you go check the app as we get closer to the release date and you see draw opens at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, then you'll know it's a draw, but I'm really confident that it's going to be a first come, first serve, and of course, if you don't see it says draw opens, then that means it is a first come, first serve. Now, I'm just going to refresh your memory with some very brief tips. Of course, guys, you should know this, but make sure your size is selected in your account to save some time. Make sure your address is filled in. Make sure your payment is filled in. Also, guys, I'm going to change this up from what I've usually been recommending. I'm actually going to recommend that you don't use Apple Pay. Now, Apple Pay has been working for me. However, a lot of you guys were commenting that you actually struggle to use Apple Pay. Therefore, it is inconsistent, and I wouldn't want to recommend anything to you guys that's inconsistent. Even though it works for me, it might not work for you, so it's honestly up to you if you want to use it or not. Finally, if you want to use multiple accounts, and yes, I know it's not a draw. However, if you want to go for multiple sizes or so, because some sell out quicker than the others, what I would advocate for all your separate accounts is you change up the address a little. I've mentioned that you can change up the last word a little where you abbreviate it or spell it differently, but I also wanted to add in this, and I learned this at a Jordan release at a Footlocker. Some guy told me that you could change up your address so the algorithm won't pick it up by adding a 1B or a 1C or a 2A or a 2B in the apartment section, because if you live in a house, there are no apartments, so they're obviously still just going to drop it off at the door. But the algorithm will pick it up as if it's a new address every single time. Also, just to be safe, I would suggest using different payment methods if you have the option to do so. And now this will transition me into the May 12th drops. To kick it off with the May 12th drops, of course, we have the Nike Sneakers US drop occurring at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Of course, all the tips that I just mentioned for the EU drop, they are applicable to the US drop, of course, too. Nothing changes. Now, the rest of the US retailers will include Shoe Palace, Shop Nice Kicks, and Finish Line. Now, Finish Line will usually do it through the app. Now, if you're wondering which one I suggest in between like Shoe Palace and Shop Nice Kicks, Shop Nice Kicks I always have trouble with. However, with Shoe Palace, I haven't taken a W off of there yet. However, I like the way they have it set up where you just have to keep trying to add to cart. Also, one tip for there, it comes up with a little timer where it says, don't add to cart until the timer's up. Guys, just ignore that. Just keep trying to add to cart. That's just to decrease the amount of spamming that goes on the site. It is most likely going to occur that Footlocker should get them, Foot Action should get them, and perhaps even Champs. Now, this is not yet confirmed. However, as we get closer to the release dates, follow my Twitter, which is KeithAdam10, and I'll mention, like, you should sign up on the apps and whatever. Now, one thing I wanted to address, and I was thinking of making a full video, a full in-depth video where I provide the proof for this, because I know you guys want evidence for this, obviously. But you guys were saying, oh, you're so lucky, Keith. You're always taking W's at Footlocker and Foot Action. It's so annoying. I'm so unlucky. Guys, I can assure you for a fact, it has nothing to do with luck. You can have a 10-minute head start and take L's every single time. It's not just the 10 minutes that matters. It's a loyalty system. It depends on how much you've spent. And if you go into the app and you check the amount you've spent and it only says $300, but there's other people going for the shoe who've spent $500, $1,000, $2,000, they're going to get the shoe and you're not. It's based off of how much you've spent. So this means that you're going to have to spend more money if you really want to take an L on these foot apps. Now, you don't technically have to spend money. You could just buy some GRs that go on sale, put them on StockX and take like a $10 loss or so. That, of course, is a good strategy. Or, of course, you want to rock some GRs. But the more money you spend, the more likely you are to get them. And of course, I'll try to make that video in the future where I provide the evidence of why this is actually true and how I know it's true. But I just really wanted to mention that. Also, guys, if you happen to take an L on the reservation system, because it does happen, feel free to camp out early in the morning for the leftover pairs, because there are always people who don't pick up their pairs, who get there after 3 p.m. and they say, oh, come on, let me pick up my pair, but by then it's too late. Well, you guys who camped out early in the morning will get tickets. You guys can come back at 3 p.m. to your Footlocker or Foot Action or whatever store you got the tickets for, and you will have the opportunity to purchase the extra pairs. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the rare sizes won't be available, so if you're like a 7 or a 7.5 in men's sizes, it might be difficult, but if you're a 10 or an 11 or a 12 or anything like that, you should definitely have luck getting your size. So honestly, guys, you should not ever be taking an L on Jordans like this, because if you really want them, get up at like 5 a.m. or 4 a.m., get to the store early, get that ticket, and come back at 3. Alright, so that will conclude the how to cop portion of the video, so now let's move on to the resale predictions. Do I think this shoe will sell out? Absolutely. There's a ton of demand on this shoe, and it is supposed to be a pretty wide release, and for that, I'm going to have to say that although they will sell out, the resale isn't going to be a lot. In fact, it's going to be very little. I'm predicting that resale should be very close to the black cement 3s and also the Tinker 3s. Meaning that you can actually make some profit off of them. After seller fees, you could probably make, considering retail is only $190 here in comparison to $200 with some others, you can probably make around 20 bucks, which if you get 4 pairs, you make $80, which isn't really bad at all. And also, if you really want to make the most money possible and you don't want to spend any time with only making $20, go for sizes 7, 7.5, and 12.5. They're the most rare sizes, but they also have a ton of demand. So obviously there you would make the most money. So I'm going to advocate that you don't sleep on these. But honestly, guys, don't go for these for resale purposes, considering you're only making $20 or so. But if you're willing to be out $190 or so until you sell the shoe and you say, hey, $20 is like 3 meals at Chipotle, I'm down to resell the shoe. Hey, be my guest. But in my opinion, this shoe is so clean, so all I care about is rocking it. But with that, I'll conclude the video. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed or if you perhaps learned a thing or two. Also, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any updates on all those Heat shoes that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. But with that, have a fantastic rest of your day. Good luck on this release, and I'll see you guys later.
The double O, even the T. Get that big foot away from me. Get your foot off my foot. Ah. Get your foot off my foot. Yeah. Why are you hurting me with your foot?